One of the most common communication frustrations that I hear about is getting people to do what you want them to do. And this happens not only from my clients when they're speaking about business, but I hear about it in people's personal lives too. How do they get people in their personal lives to do what they said they were going to do, especially kids? So what I'm going to share with you today is a framework for agreements. And by following these steps, what you're going to see is you're going to get much better at actually having people do what they say they're going to do, and you'll be able to alleviate some of that frustration. So the first step in this framework for agreement is for you to be really clear on what your expectations are. See, this is the number one reason that you don't get what you want, because you yourself are not clear about what you want. Other people are having to do a lot of interpretation of what you want. So when you get very clear about it, and you're really clear about what your criteria of success looks like, what your conditions of satisfaction are, and you're able to communicate those clearly, you're going to see you're going to get better results. You're going to have more and more people doing what you expect. So the first thing is you be clear. Once you're clear yourself, then you make the ask. This is what I would like to have done. And the next piece of it, step number 2, is you have to provide the why. Why is this important? Why is it important that we have our graphics delivered to us by next week, Tuesday? If we don't have them, we won't have the materials that are necessary for us to go and do our proposal with our client. You know, what's the why? Why are you making the request? So people understand it's not just because you said do this, although you might feel like that should be adequate. It rarely works. But what's underneath that? What's the reason for it? What does it now allow for? And then the third step is where you actually get the promise. Someone agrees to do what you've asked. Now in this step, this is where the negotiations take place. Either the time frame, you know what, I can't get that to you by Wednesday afternoon, I can get it to you the following morning. Or it may be exactly the activity that you've asked people. Boy, you know what, I can't do that entire thing, I can do a part of that. And we can take a look at what some other resources that might be able to provide the rest of it. But you get really clear about what it is the promise is. So they've agreed, you've made a request, you've told them why, they've agreed. Now the fourth step is you have to manage the agreement. And what that means is, did they do what they said they were going to do? Did they meet their promise? If yes, it's like high fives go all the way around, congratulations, thank you very much, and move on to the next thing. If they didn't do what they said they were going to do, either the activities themselves at the standards that you've requested or in the time frame that you've requested, any of those things, but the promise wasn't met, then you go on to step 5, which is the repromise. I requested that you completed this paperwork and this proposal in this manner with this level of detail. It didn't get done to my specifications. So I've gone through this with you. Now what I would like from you is to tell me that I can expect this at that standards the next time when we do this. So you have them repromise, and you start the agreement cycle again. Now what happens if they don't do what they said they were going to do again? So that gets down to the 6th step of the framework for agreement. And that's when you look at consequences. Now I'm a big believer on letting people make mistakes. And when someone makes a mistake and they don't actually do what they've agreed to do, we'll have a very direct conversation. You said you were going to do this. You said that you were going to do it within this time frame and to these standards. It didn't happen. Here are the places where it fell short. We put the correction in. And then personally, I allow them to go back, repromise, and we go through the process again. If it happens more than once, then there are certain consequences. And you set the consequences in advance so that they understand, you know what, and it's going to depend on whatever the agreement is going to be the severity of the consequences. Some of them will be, you know what, here's what the consequences are. If you don't complete this and get this paperwork in, you don't get your bonus. Or the consequences could be, if you don't follow these safety protocols, you get fired. You know, so there's a big range of what the consequences could be. But you go through the consequences after the agreement is not met, after they've missed their agreement. And as I said, I give people the opportunity to make a mistake before they go back through and they experience those consequences. When you go through this process, when you first get really clear yourself about what your expectations are, and then you explain and communicate the why behind it. Why is it important? Get a clear agreement. Yes, I promise to do that from the other person. You then manage it. Did they meet the agreement? Did they not meet the agreement? If they met it, high fives. If they didn't, step 5, the re-promise. And if again they don't meet their agreements, then we go to step 6, what are the consequences? Bit by bit by bit, when you've got this kind of a systematic way that you're communicating when you want others to do something that is important to you, you're going to find you're going to get better results. Thanks for joining us today. Good luck with your agreements. I'm looking forward to hearing how you do.